Story 1. I always just thought of it as a game, but one you're not really trying to win, it's just fun to play. When you find an opponent that makes it more fun, you know you're doing it right. If not, then concede the match and move on. Story 2. Perhaps forget flirting. Just talk to people and be interested in what they say. Ask real questions. Listen to the answers. Work on improving your feel for the flow of conversation. But the trick is to actually be interested in what they are saying. Story 3. People don't care that much if you say something embarrassing or weird, so you shouldn't care either. From what I've learned, most girls actually like it when you're just talking about whatever you feel like, even if it's kind of goofy or weird, because it brings up genuinely good conversation that isn't the boring stuff they always talk about with guys trying to flirt with them. Story 4. Sincerity is what works best. Just be honest, not pushy, and not cliché. Do not start a conversation with the goal of getting them in bed. Start a conversation with the goal of having a good conversation. Story 5. Step 1. Decide you do not want to have sex, or rather, that sex is not the end goal of every conversation with the opposite sex. Step 2. Roll with the punches and learn to laugh at yourself. Step 3. When people flirt, respond in kind. It is good banter. The more it happens, the better you get. Flirting is a lot like comedy in my experience. You have to have high enough self-esteem to not get easily offended when someone makes fun of you, and you need the quick wit necessary to come up with clever responses. This takes practice and effort. Also, if you see flirting as fun in and of itself instead of seeing flirting as a pathway to sex, then you get good at flirting. And that is the story of how I became a massive flirt and also a virgin. If someone can tell me how to turn flirting into sex, you have my gratitude. Story 6. I think it's probably crucial for people to maintain an extremely light touch when flirting with strangers, and even more so when flirting with acquaintances. I'm an older male, but when I was middle-aged, I became extremely cautious with regard to flirting. I basically just dialed it back to being friendly and polite and being very discreet about complimenting anyone in any sort of manner that might be construed as having a sexual context. Now that I'm certifiably old, I've allowed myself to relax a little bit. Just a little, if only because there's so little chance that any young woman would take it seriously. But my awareness is always up with regard to exuding creepiness, which is something I generally try to avoid. Story 7. Talk to women you like as much as possible. Start conversations in the department of motor vehicles, public library, supermarket, dentist's office, or wherever. Expect plenty of rejection and just don't get discouraged. You're eventually going to understand what works for you. Story 8. Practice is definitely important, as learning how to read people is a skill that takes time to master. However, by far, the most important thing, at least for guys, is confidence. This does not mean cockiness, and a lot of guys get this confused. You cannot walk around acting like you are some big shot who demands attention. Rather, you need to come off as not insecure and confident in yourself. This means being humble but sure of yourself. Speak like you are sure of what you are saying, but that it is okay if they disagree. It is also a good idea to not approach women with the direct aim of picking them up. Being genuinely friendly is good, but do not seem too attached. Go up to a girl, talk to her for a couple of minutes, and then leave the scene in a way that seems genuine. If you follow them around, you seem desperate or worse, creepy. Even if they seem interested already, leaving the scene works great, as it makes you seem like you have other obligations, which for some women can feel like a challenge. Also, do not fall for the girls do not like nice guys trap. Women love nice guys, but they do not like insecure guys. Be kind, but make it clear through your actions that you do not need her to have a good time. If she sees that you are successful on your own, she will be much more inclined to find you attractive. And if a girl does not want your attention, act like it does not bother you, even if it does. There is nothing worse than a guy who gets angry because a girl is not interested. Your lack of care towards that situation might even make the girl think, why does not he care, and lead to her being interested in you after all. However, in this scenario, do not approach her again. No means no, and if she does find you interesting, she will let you know. Okay, so I realize that this has kind of become a guide to approaching women you are interested in rather than actually flirting, but the advice here should improve anyone's game. When it comes to flirting, the confidence thing still applies. And oh yeah, make fun of them in a joking way and see if they reciprocate. If they do, you are already halfway there. Good luck to everyone. I hope this helps. Story 9. Listen to comedy podcasts, especially if they have guests. They are the best at banter, and a sense of humor is the key. Just by listening, you will gain skills and confidence, as well as pick up many conversational techniques. Story 10. If you are a woman, find a guy that you like and walk casually past him. Allow your hand to brush against his lower back as you walk by. When he looks, look back and give him a little signal to approach you, and he will. A friend of mine does this, and it has a 95% success rate. If you are a man, just be rich and funny. Being rich and funny works really well. Touching women without consent is no good. Edit. It seems this isn't self-evident, so I'll state it here. No flirting approach is one size fits all. Great flirting is situational. So, of course, this approach isn't going to be the best for everyone, and that's okay. Story 11. Crank as many out as necessary and forget about sex for a minute. Replace talking to people with the Ford method. Remember people's names. Talk to as many new people as possible, all genders, whether you're attracted to them or not. 100 new people in 6 months is perfectly doable. If you can do that, talking to people and sex will naturally follow. Story 12. Stop being scared of rejection. How do you get to not be scared of rejection? Get rejected a lot and by someone you really like or love. Then you stop caring about flirting with random people. Also, starting off by telling someone they are pretty or handsome is a great first move. You do not have to come up with a smart pickup line. Story 13. My to-do list. Step 1. Search online for what is flirting. Step 2. Look for YouTube tutorials or any guidebooks. Step 3. Practice. Step 4. Give up and abandon all hope knowing your bloodline ends with you. Story 14. Lightness and genuine fun. You're not executing a plan to get laid. You're playing around with someone who might enjoy playing around with you. You can take it or leave it, they can take it or leave it. There's no commitment required and no drama if they don't reciprocate, just move along. If they join you in that safe space, you're still not trying to get laid. You're trying to engage them in some playfully antagonistic banter or some slightly snarky mutual compliments and smiles. They want to see if you catch what they're dealing out, if you're actually paying attention and trying to join in, or if you're just walking through a checklist that you hope ends in intimate moments. They want to gauge if you're relaxed and confident, suggesting calm comfort, or if you've got an agenda suggesting potential red flags. There might come a point in the interaction where either party suspects that they're interested or open to something more than playful. But even that may be nuanced and isn't just a straight-to-bed declaration. Your looks and smoothness, of course, help but are way less important than you think. Don't drag your mental models of your self-worth along with you. Let the interaction and the other party involved give you clues about how they feel about you and believe them. An interesting and fun person who actually listens is very compelling, even if it doesn't lead straight to intimacy. Plus, you should really be looking at the long term. Flirting might fundamentally change how the other party thinks about you, and this could lead to different, more connected interactions in the future after they've marinated on it for a while. Being nice and friendly with anyone is going to increase your connection with them. Flirting just adds a layer of, I'm paying particular attention to you because I'm interested in you. Story 15. Get comfortable with rejection and find ways to make people laugh. Once you're operating with confidence, not arrogance or entitlement, and humor, everything else will fall into place. Story 16. If you are a woman, just speak the same language they do, and sometimes that isn't even necessary. Just exist near them, breathe near them, be near them. If you are a man, be rich and good-looking. If you have these, you can say or do anything, and nothing you could do would really turn them off of you. So to simplify, if you are a woman, just be near men. If you are a man, just make money. Story 17. I want to add to practice. Be willing to walk away. If it's not working, walk away. Do it for its own sake, for the practice, for the fun, not for the results. Story 18. Honest to God, play some dating simulations. It sounds stupid, but they genuinely do teach you some interesting tactics for different personality types and often rely on one of the biggest hurdles for people who want to flirt well. You have to not be a jerk. Story 19. Be confident while at the same time self-deprecating and vulnerable enough to let them see the real you every now and then. Usually works for me. Also, ask a lot of open-ended questions and listen longer than you normally would. Story 20. Practice and take the right advice. Don't listen to all the alpha male nonsense out there. The most important thing is to be confident and comfortable. I know that's easier said than done, but fake that mindset until it sinks in. If your confidence is really lacking, I'd suggest going to the gym. Even if you don't look any different after a few months of exercise, your confidence will have skyrocketed. From a guy's perspective, women like how you make them feel when you're around. I know that's vague, but it's true. Looks can get your foot in the door, but if you want to keep someone, you need to make them feel better with you around. Story 21. I tend to say something outlandish that I know the girl will disagree with. Then I keep making statements that contradict my initial statement so that it becomes obvious that I was just joking, but I keep a straight face. It's fun to fake argue for most girls. I have no idea why it works, but it does. Story 22. Act interested in what the other person is saying while staying in close proximity. If the conversation goes well, slowly get closer until you are almost touching them. If they seem to like you getting closer, it means they like you. That's always worked for me. Story 23, you just have to do it. We all have different personalities and traits, so what works for me wouldn't necessarily work for you. One thing I will say, don't be self-deprecating, it's usually not very funny. Story 24. Practice it with people you know you'll never see again. Walk down a busy street, especially in a tourist area if you can, and say hi to every attractive person you see as they walk past you in the opposite direction. You don't do it with the expectation that it will lead to anything. You do it to build confidence, which is really the key to flirting. Story 25. Confidence without arrogance. Talk to your target as if they are a person, not some mythical creature. Laugh at the person, at yourself, at anything. Be engaging, such as by asking the person questions about their interests or jobs. Ask follow-up questions to show you're listening. Be interesting yourself. Be assertive without being creepy. Read the room. Understand that being a good flirt does not mean you'll be successful 100% of the time. Most of all, don't make it so obvious you're flirting. Have some chill. Story 26. I once asked my boyfriend what made him want a second date with me, but not with other girls he had previously taken out. He said I was the first one to not take out my phone during conversation and to actually care about what he was saying. We've been going out for close to 7 years now. Also, from my point of view, I love the way he didn't take himself too seriously. He wasn't there to prove he was the best. He was there to make sure I had the best time, and that made a huge difference. By the way, try to avoid quoting shows repeatedly. People want to get to know you, not the character you're quoting. Story 27. I would say to get good at flirting, know a lot about the person you want to try to flirt with, but not in a weird way. Just talk and get to know her or him. Then, maybe after a month or two, ask her or him on a date if you're brave at the time. You're welcome. Story 28. Ask a question that the person you are talking to may be or is an expert on. In fact, they don't even have to be an expert. Could simply be their job that you don't have any idea about. Get them to talk about themselves and then comment from there. Try and show some genuine interest. Story 29. Women's advice. Get used to talking to people. This means listening and talking about the topics they know or are interested in. Everything else is secondary. Story 30. Learn to identify people who will play along and might like it from people who are definitely not into you or do not want anything to do with it. You will not completely sway someone who does not like you with an ingenious one-liner. It is more of a read the room first thing. Story 31. Humor. Nothing is more fulfilling than having a positive and enjoyable conversation with someone attractive. If it's hard to be funny, you're probably overthinking it with the pressure and nerves. Just keep it light and enjoyable. If it's hard to keep a conversation going, try to genuinely be interested and curious. You'd be surprised how easy it is to strike up a conversation by just wanting to know them more. Story 32. Honestly, by far the largest thing, I think, is confidence without bragging and showing genuine interest. The energy of, I know I'm great. Let's truly see if you are too. is really sexy and addictive. Story 33. Smile, compliment, exude confidence. Go into a conversation not just as if you are trying to win them over, but also with the mindset that you will walk away if it is uninteresting to you as well. That isn't just a tip. That's the actual mentality you need to have, or they will sense the desperation. A little harsh there, but that is the harshness I apply to myself when distinguishing between doing things right and doing them wrong. Story 34. You learn about the person you are flirting with. If they like your flirts, they will smile and flirt back with you. If they do not like your flirts and are offended, back away and let them move out of your orbit. They are trouble,